I'm Cardozo, class of 2015, and I am a Latin and Greek teacher at Gonzaga College High School. My job at Gonzaga is to instruct students in the classics, so Latin and Greek, but that also includes stuff like archaeology, history, mythology, literature, philosophy, and really just get them immersed in the ancient world and potentially give them a taste of what classics might feel like at the collegiate level. My entry path to teaching was definitely unorthodox. I was originally in a graduate school program at the University of Chicago, which after I finished part of it and got my master's, I decided to take a break and teach here. Most people who work in classics will go either the path of having an education degree and going right into education out of undergraduate, or they'll go into higher ed and try to become a professor and get a PhD in classics. So teaching is actually a lot about communication. And while I learned a ton of the research skills that I need to write effectively at St. Joe's, the biggest thing that I am grateful for is all the opportunities for communication in the classroom that I had at Hawk Hill. One of the huge things that people underestimate is how much classroom discussions are driven by being able to be present and be there with the other people who are in the room. And so even in a high school environment where you're the teacher and they're the students, it's really important to be able to communicate effectively and to have really good, interesting conversations. If it's one-sided, that's not really an effective classroom. A great classroom is one where everyone feels like they're collaborators, which is a lot like what some of the classes, especially upper level seminar courses at St. Joe's felt like. If you're interested in a career in the classics, especially in high school education in the classics, I would say, make sure that you're taking every opportunity you can to get some hands-on experience. I didn't have any, but getting to work as a student teacher with students in the Philadelphia area is probably a really good idea. I also would just make sure that you join a lot of organizations that will assist you in fitting into this world, because the world of classics is really, really tiny. The reality is that everyone knows each other. So the networking that you do as part of that is super important. The biggest networking tips that I can give is that even though it might seem really intimidating, it's important that you reach out to professors or even other students who share similar research interests to you. And I don't just mean, classics or history or anything like that. You should look for the people who have the very specific interests that you have. So I chose some of my schools for graduate school, or even some of the places I would want to look at or speak to based on those very specific research interests. The more specific you can get, the better. The other tip that I would give is just to go to as many events as you can. I mean, seek out opportunities to interact with people in your field. I every year go to classics conferences, and they're not only really good networking opportunities, but they're a really great place to share experiences and discussions with people who are passionate about the same things you are. I mean, if you want to talk Alexander the Great excitedly with other academics for 3 hours, that's going to be one of your few opportunities to find people on the same wavelength as you are. So I always seek out events for sure. Classics field is extremely small, so there really aren't very many jobs in it, and I'm privileged and lucky enough to have gotten one of the few. I would say that it's also can be a very insular field where people are not super welcoming to outsiders all the time. So I would recommend that anyone who's trying to get into the field, they start early and start looking into opportunities early, because it can be a really small exclusive field. Diversity and inclusion to me definitely means putting in the work. Many organizations, many schools will have a big talk in their mission statements about diversity, equity, inclusion, all these things, and they won't actually put any work into creating programs, creating opportunities, and creating, I think most importantly, an environment where those things can thrive, right? It doesn't matter, how much you put on your website about, we're inclusive. If a student can't come into that environment, or not even a student, any organization, and feel like they are part of that organization, like they're included, like their opinion is valued, then it doesn't matter what you say about it. It matters what you do about it. So to me, I think putting in the work and actually building those programs and building those opportunities is the thing that makes it matter. Otherwise, it's just empty talk. I would say definitely. When I started at Gonzaga, that's not to say things were not diverse, but I think we have made such incredible strides just in the time that I've here. And especially seeing, the Unity Club, which is Gonzaga's LGBTQ affinity club, has grown, and the number of students who feel so much more comfortable talking about being of different sexualities or even gender expressions has been huge. And it's influenced me just to think about the way that we interact with students, the way we form relationships with students and camaraderie with students, because both Gonzaga and St. Joe's have men and women with and for others, and you can't really be with people if they don't even feel welcome as part of the team. In terms of organizations, I would say that the Classical Association of the Atlantic States, CAS, has been really invaluable for me. They were the ones who, when I was an undergraduate, I presented a paper at one of their conferences, and they gave me such incredible, good-natured feedback and helped me learn how to make those moves in the field. But in terms of just a single book or resource, I would say the biggest thing I can recommend that I wasn't ready for is that you have to read the ancient sources. As much as we have this elite education with tons of great teachers and professors and textbooks, there's really no substitute for sitting down. I thought I had a lot, I thought I knew a lot, but you have to sit down and read your Plutarch, your Caesar, your Cicero, and make sure that you actually have had contact with those ancient sources, because a lot of people haven't, and that's really surprising, and it's really necessary if we're going to keep the field alive. Number one thing that I wish someone would have told me would be to make an effort to keep in touch with everybody you meet. You never know in the future when folks you'll meet them again, whether it's in your field or just in life. And I think the relationships that you build at St. Joe's are the most treasured thing that you can get out of your time there. There are people from my program or just friends that I had and professors that I had that I keep in touch with now and have helped me with projects that I'm working on, that have helped me with job and employment searches. And that has been so incredibly invaluable. So I think making an effort to build those relationships, but also make sure that they last outside of, oh, I got a job, I'm graduating, that's it, I don't ever need to speak to these people again, right? Build those relationships to last, because they may need you one day too.